Why refer to a woman as a weaker vessel? This is the translation of First Peter chapter 3, verse 7. I'll read it the whole verse from the English Standard Version. It says, "Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered." So I have several thoughts about this passage, and of course, the short answer is I don't know, but I do have some thoughts. First of all, the term vessel is often used to refer to the body as a vessel for our soul or spirit, that we inhabit our body like something in a container or vessel. So, to be sure, in the physical manifestation of our being and our bodies, women are weaker overall, particularly upper body strength, than men are. So we need to be especially gentle with a weaker vessel. If you think about a beer stein or beer mug and a champagne glass, they're both vessels that can contain liquid. But if there's a clash between the beer stein and the champagne glass, guess which one is going to be damaged more easily? Of course, the champagne glass can be crushed by the beer stein. And I think in interactions between men and women, there needs to be an awareness that while men are armored emotionally in a way that keeps them from taking things as personally and also not letting in things that are damaging, I think women are not wired in the same way. If two men get in a conflict, get angry with one another, they can, in a verbal exchange, rip each other a new one, so to speak. But do it in a way that the next day they're both back at work and fine with one another, because men assume that what you say in anger you don't really mean. You're just lashing out to hurt the other person in that moment, but that it doesn't change the dynamic in the relationship. Whereas women, because of the way they're wired emotionally, they tend to say what's true when they're upset. And so they are prone to believing that what a man says when he's upset is how he really feels. This can cause huge damage if a man doesn't realize this and he gives himself permission to say ugly things out of anger, because even though he may tell her 1,000 times she's beautiful, if he ever says once you're fat and ugly in a moment of anger or hurt, his wife, as that weaker vessel in a way, is likely to think that that what he said in anger is how he really feels, even if he reassures her over and over again. He cannot get those words out of her head once she's heard them. Whereas a man has the ability to uh, take a turn and forget the past much more quickly and easily. Now, the verse says that husbands should live with a wife with understanding. And I think this is so vital, because if you think about understanding or empathy from a heart point of view and not just from a head point of view, then that ability to be understanding and to be thoughtful, to be tuned in and to be able to be empathetic and to share with your words as a man that you understand and honor your partner's heart. So powerful in forging a partnership that is loving and safe for that woman. And as God says, you should honor her, lest your prayers be hindered. God is not happy if you are not listening to your wife. He's kind of like, you don't listen to her, I'm not listening to you. Um, Pretty sobering if you think about it, but God often takes our lead with the way he relates to us. If we forgive others, he'll forgive us. If we're tender-hearted toward others, he'll be tender toward us. If we refresh others, he will refresh us. So there's that interesting dynamic where God lets us take the lead in how he relates to us based on our understanding with another. Another way to think about the idea of a weaker vessel is to think about ships or vessels that are seaworthy or made to be in the water. Because in my mind, some of you may know that I see men like barges. Um, they are meant to carry a lot of weight, but they don't go very deep into the water. That is, they're often not as emotionally connected as women. They don't have a sail. They're not as spiritually attuned as a group as women are. And they also don't turn quickly. Um, they need time to adapt to a new direction. Whereas women, in my mind, are more like sailboats. They have a shapely hull. They go deeper in the water. Women tend to be have more ready access to their hearts and their feelings. They're much more likely to be feeling driven or love driven than law driven, which is a beautiful thing. They also have a sail which can catch the wind. They tend to have good intuition about emotional and spiritual things and spiritual discernment as well that men often lack. And so the partnership between the sailboat and the barge, between the man and the woman, is vital if we are going to respond to God's love and faithfulness in the best way possible. And so the idea, I think it could feel dismissive or demeaning for the woman to be referred to as weaker. But in many ways, women do have strength that men lack. When it comes to physical endurance, for instance, women, by and large, live longer than men do. They have a will, an ability to keep going, even on a day-to-day basis. You see a man come in from work and collapse um, in exhaustion, whereas a woman comes home from work and she often will immediately set to work on the dinner or tending the children with homework. And a woman's work, as they say, is never done. And so in some ways, women have tremendous strength that men lack. They also tend to have a lot of emotional resilience, and their ability to live with understanding is inborn to a certain extent. Men have to cultivate that understanding, cultivate empathy, cultivate an ability to speak from their heart and not from their head. But the Apostle Peter here, I think, is encouraging us as men to be honoring of those differences between us. Like, realize how powerfully good it is that your wife is the weaker vessel. Another way of thinking about that weakness is within the sailboat barge analogy. Men are stronger when it comes to managing the waves of life or the winds of outrageous fortune. The barge is very unlikely to be capsized by things that happen. Whereas woman, as the weaker vessel, the sailboat, which is so beautiful and elegant in design and so effective and swift, can be weaker when it comes to standing up against the dashing waves or the violent winds of life, and can be more easily capsized than the barge. Nevertheless, though, we want to think that in our humanity, our strength is also our weakness. And so often it is from a place of weakness that God works best. And he works through women in powerful and profound ways that he cannot achieve easily, if at all, through a man. So I hope this little video is helpful in thinking about this idea of the weaker vessel, and making it easier for us to honor these differences, which can be so frustrating, so annoying, and make me so ticked at God for making us so differently. But if we understand his design and honor it, then it opens up an avenue for communication and partnership between the sexes and between us and our Heavenly Father. So, hope you're having a great day. I'm Dr. Paul. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a pastor. I'm a gardener. I'm a lover of God and lover of others. And I love you. Have a great day.